Union. I am Ace Trainer Jerry here with Imminent Doom X tonight, and normally we would be doing this on a Monday, and normally I would be Kenny, but he's doing some other Nerd Union stuff. It's called The Quorum, where they discuss all sorts of like film and movie stuff. They're doing that right now and hanging out in there. I have no idea what they're discussing tonight, actually, because I
I,
just wasn't paying attention.
I've seen a couple of the messages and I can't tell from context clues.
But yeah, so they're hanging out talking about that tonight, or talking about whatever they're watching tonight. We're going to be here covering the Microsoft Activision Blizzard merger. Wow, that is a mouthful.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
purposefully went with the alliteration on that one.
the MAB.
the
It sounds like something out of. I was
the
gonna say, go ahead.
acquisition of Activision.
Acquisition of Activision. I like it. That sounds. Someone needs to write a song about this. We should write a song about this.
I'll put it in my pile of all the songs I've written that I've abandoned halfway through.
That's okay. You got the what? You got those piano skills. I can pick up a bass. We figured it out.
Yeah, we'll make it work. If we gotta improvise it and then record it because it'll never be as good as like the first or 10th time that we do it.
That's true. But hey, I'm working on Pro Tools more and more every day, so we'll figure it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's blue-skidoo into this topic. So for those of you who haven't heard, this has kind of been like the biggest news of this week. Microsoft is purchasing Activision Blizzard. Now the purchase of it hasn't gone through yet, but pretty much all they need to do is kind of get signatures on paper and all that sorts of stuff. So earlier this week, Microsoft announced they'd be buying Activision Blizzard to the tune of nearly $70 billion, which for reference, Nintendo is estimated to be worth $61 billion. So this is a lot of money. And Microsoft, I think earlier they bought some other, I can't remember what the name of the company was, but he bought it to like for something like, $7 billion or like $10 billion. And this like, you might as well just heat that into the trash can when you compare that price tag to this one. And as you know, if you've been following the show, Activision Blizzard has been in hot water for a while with lawsuits and all sorts of other stuff. So this is coming. The CEO of Microsoft, Phil Spencer, is very optimistic about buying the company, even amongst like the bombardment of lawsuits, assault allegation, workplace misconduct, and the overall negative like frat house like culture of the company. He's quoted in an article he's scrolling on the bottom, by Washington Post, that I believe the leaders there believe in the opportunity that they have in their plan, noting that his confidence this was to be resolved. In addressing the potential bringing on of unionized workers, he said that his company will work to empower the employees to quote unquote do their best work. He's mentioned that he's been in the gaming industry for a long time, and he's not super familiar with unionized workers, but he said that he wants to work with them, with all of his employees, to put them in a position where they can do their best work. That's ultimately the goal, and whatever they need to do to feel comfortable and safe and all that stuff. He seems to be willing to play ball with that. So if game game designers have the idea of being in a union has been bounced around a long time, but from my estimate, folks tend to teeter away from it simply because when you have grievances as a game designer, or your team has grievances with the way the company is, what tends to happen more often times than not is you guys just dip and form your own company. And for a long time that's how it goes. But gaming is different now. Not to say that folks don't do that, but not everybody's in the position to do that. Especially in some of the positions that Activision has put people where they had people move to a whole new state to be a part of some team, only to then lay them off. So these are the kinds of stuff that the Activision employees are dealing with. However, back to Microsoft, the acquisition of Activision brings with it a myriad of titles to the Xbox landscape. Some of which have like long since been shelved by Activision, and we haven't seen meaningful games for in a long time. We'll go through the whole list a little bit later, but just to touch on it, like some of them are like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk, but they also have stuff that people are still actively playing like Diablo, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, and Overwatch.
Okay.
Um, but,
Can we talk about the fact that that's like, hold on, let's pause there for a second because that's a lot.
yeah,
Like,
it's a big investment. Like there's a lot of IPs that
yeah.
Activision is currently like throwing down and working on and releasing stuff for, but there's a lot of stuff that I was going through the list like a moment ago, and like Jerry and I were talking about it just before the show started, and we were like,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even heard anybody say the title of this game probably since I played it on the GameCube.
Right.
And there's like a bunch of stuff that's like that where they have tons of IPs, like, so they're not just paying for the Call of Duty and being able to have that kind of stuff, or World of Warcraft or Overwatch and what is it, Heroes of the Storm and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they get all that stuff, and they get the stuff that they're not even making games for anymore for
Right.
whatever reason. And fortunately for the Activision-Blizzard employees, Microsoft is known to be one company that like acquires a studio, and unlike other companies like EA, who like they're like, yeah, I want like these like this particular group, and then we're gonna shove all you other dudes to this other part of the company, and you'll never do what the kind of things you were doing before ever again, or you'll just be resigned to be working on our mobile games or some stupid
Oh
bullshit.
no.
Yeah. Fortunately, Microsoft tends to be one company that acquires game companies and generally lets them keep doing what they wanted to do. So it's reassuring news for Activision. And I'll touch on the little bit because we have some other notes about how the employees responded to the news as well. But it's
Mm-hmm.
promising news for folks who have wanted to play some of those games that have been long since gone. It's promising news for the employees. It's pretty much probably good for everybody who isn't named Bobby
Yeah. So there's a couple things I wanted to note about that.
Kotick. Mm-hmm.
One being that billion, what is it? How much billions?
70 billion.
Yeah, that's 70 billion. They did that in cash. Like
Mm-hmm.
straight up are like, look at all this money we've got lying around. Hey, you come here. I own you now. Like,
Yoink. Yeah.
yeah.
So you gotta remember, like, when we're talking about like and they get that, and Phil Spencer is asked this question in a little bit, but they touch on that, like, Microsoft is one of the few companies that's in gaming that has been in game, like, or I should say few tech companies that's in gaming that has been in gaming. As opposed to, like, we have, there's talk about the what was it, the Netflix gaming thing that wants to come out. Google's tried their hand at trying to get into the space. Amazon's tried to get into the gaming space, and
Mm-hmm.
we have there. Facebook has done their own thing, and everybody, there's all these tech companies that see gaming as like this lucrative cash cow. Like, all you got to do is just make games, and people just give you money. And they try to get into the space, and wouldn't you know it, nobody, if you buy or try to get into video games, and nobody in your company knows anything about video games in large quantities, it kind of falls apart and it blows up.
Yeah.
So Phil Spencer talked briefly about, like, he's a little worried that, like, these companies are trying to, like, butt into gaming when you have, like, these other long-standing folks who aren't tech companies but have been doing it for a very, very long time, and, like, they're the market, like the Nintendo and the
Mm-hmm.
Sony and, like, the other folks who don't make consoles, but help create the games for the market. Um, but for as far as Microsoft goes, Microsoft's not Nintendo. Like, Nintendo's got, big Nintendo money, but when you compare it to Microsoft money, because Microsoft has the whole, chunk of the computer, like home computer industry, as well as auxiliary stuff. Like, they got, like, it might be like Nintendo might as well be like a kid who's like, oh, what would you do with $100? Like, oh, I would buy a house and I'd buy a car. Like, it's not even the same. So, oh wait, it looks like we lost Jerry. One sec. His internet might have dropped, but that's okay. Let me see if the stream is still up. Yeah, it looks like we're still alive. We're still alive. Okay. Well, hopefully, Jerry will come back. Well, did we lose her? We're back. There we
We
go.
are back. Sorry, my internet just decided to die on me, so I had to hotspot it.
Nah, no worries. It looks like we never lost what's it called? We never lost the stream, so we're still good.
Yeah, the stream's still going. So continue where we started having problems at.
Yeah. So I was just saying that, like, for the I continued on a little bit. I was saying, like, with the kind of money that Microsoft has as a whole company, like, they're able to kind of make moves in a different echelon than, like, some of the stuff that the other players in the video game industry are even capable of. But I had relented a little bit where I'm not really sure how Sony stacks up to Microsoft, because, like, they have the film stuff, they have other things in the tech sector as well, but I'm not sure, you know, I feel like it's also a lot of money in comparison to other people in the video game space, but I don't think that Sony's hopping and bopping with Microsoft money.
Right.
But with they're teaming up with what's it called, with Disney to do more crossover films. Like, maybe that could change. Yeah,
I mean, sort of, but there's also not necessarily like a synergy there.
eh, it's kind of like getting hard carried through like a boss battle for Sony. It's like, Disney's the person who has, the end game armor and weapons and stuff, and they're like, all right, yeah, you could come. It's like, oh, my mom said my little brother has to come with us. Is that cool? And it's like, Sony's like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what kind of terms that Microsoft and Disney are on, if I'm being honest. I don't think they're
I mean,
bad
Sony.
terms. No, I'm thinking about Microsoft actually, because I was thinking about like,
Oh,
oh well, Sony and Disney are like have this relationship. It's like, well, it made me wonder like, what is their relationship like with Microsoft? And I was trying to figure out if that's actually an advantage for Sony or not. But perhaps it isn't, because I can think of a few things where Disney had some stuff going on with Microsoft, and it was just stuff that was on there. Like back in the days of the Kinect, there was like a whole like Disneyland adventure things, and I know this because my son is like obsessed with like the YouTube videos of it. He's like, Dad, I want to get this game. I'm like, I don't have that system, but
it's like, yeah, we don't have that. And it's like, talk to me like 2 years ago when I was making the decision of, do I want the PS4 or the, what's it called, Xbox One.
Yeah, but also I do know that Disney's starting to get back into their gaming sector after
Mm-hmm.
shutting down Disney Interactive and realizing that might have been a mistake, and they just need to retool it. So we'll have to see what they do with that. But I do know that they're leaning back into their gaming sector, like especially since they're doing apparently a cloud version of all the Kingdom Hearts games on Kingdom Switch, which is another announcement
Oh
that came
yeah,
out this week.
I forgot about that.
We could table that for later or another night, one of the two.
Yeah,
But
we'll do it for next the reggae show.
yeah, the regular Monday show instead of the Thursday Monday show. But yeah, so the thing that has stood out the most to me though is this massive amount of games that they have access to now as Microsoft, that they could very well have the ability to make just like as an exclusive content type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've already stated that they aren't going to do it with some pre-existing stuff like Call of Duty, at least. That I did see was confirmed. As far as anything else goes, though, I'm
They
not
posted
certain.
that on what's it called, Twitter, or I shouldn't say they, but Phil Spencer. So
Yeah.
functionally they, but he said like anything that they already have contracts for, of course they're gonna honor that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I at least for Spencer's perspective, or from his opinion, because he's kind of like the face, being the CEO. But I don't know if like the board, like yeah, he might have this one belief, but the board might push really hard another way, and maybe they'll do something else. You never know. But as far kind of judging from what he's said, he respects the position of the long-standing folks in the gaming sector, and like the importance that they have for gaming as a whole. Just to read like a little excerpt when he's talking about tech folk trying to pop into the gaming sector. He said in an interview, they have a long history in video games, talking about Nintendo, Sony. Nintendo's not going to do anything that damages gaming in the long run, because that's the business that they're in. And
Hmm.
Sony is the same, and I trust them. Valve is the same way. And when you look at the other big tech competitors from Microsoft, Google has search and Chrome, Amazon has shopping, Facebook has social, all these large scale consumer businesses. The discussion that we've had internally were that those things are important to other tech companies as far as like how many consumers they reach, and gaming can be that for us.
Yeah.
Um,
But you also
but
need to like you also have to imagine that at some point or another there had to be this moment where Phil Spencer like came in with Sony and was like walked in and Sony's talking big about their PlayStation 5 and all that and how it's doing so
mhm.
well, and Phil Spencer walks in with a stack of Benjamins and turns it around and says, "You've activated my trap card," and throws down all these franchises that he now owns, which are some of the big ones for Sony, like Spyro
Mhm.
and Crash and all
And
that.
Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot was
Yeah.
like the mascot for Sony, especially back in the day, because like they had stabs at like trying to get one that didn't really pop off.
Yeah.
I think at one point, if anybody remembers the two Croc games, Croc was initially was attempted to be marketed as a possible candidate for a mascot for the PlayStation. Didn't pop off. Crash Bandicoot kind of took that title,
Mm-hmm.
and was a more popular platformer. Um,
Because it's
but that
great.
one was in contention.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all that to say, he also mentions that they're not really in they're in a unique position where like they don't have to, they're not a tech company where like everything has to run on one platform and one device or any of that stuff. So,
Yeah.
and they've also already kind of had like a pairing of like I don't know if it's for every game, but I know there's like some games on Xbox and PlayStation that have crossplay. So like
Mm-hmm.
it seems like they're trying to foster a let's just play games kind of relationship, both with other companies and with the players. So it
Right.
seems like acquiring all these titles like gives them a whole bunch more flexibility. And I think because we came up in a culture of like, oh man, what are the exclusives for like the game titles? I think at least as far for Xbox, um, at least for Xbox, we'll probably see a lot less of that kind of stuff where they'll, because they have these IPs, it'll be they're not necessarily like, oh, you have to play it on Xbox if you want to play it. I think they'll be more willing to share that kind of stuff where, the number of times like in the past maybe 5 years where I've been like, what, this game is on this console? Like
Mm-hmm.
when like Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal on the Switch, I'm
Yeah.
like, that's what that to like as somebody who came up in playing PlayStation 1 games where like, oh man, if you wanted to play this game, or PlayStation 2, like if you wanted to play Halo, you had to buy an Xbox. If you wanted to play Jack and Daxter, you had to buy a PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing certain titles show up on other consoles is like a bonkers concept for us, but I think that kind of stuff will become less frequent as gaming kind of congeals into this collective space thing.
Yeah, and you can see consistent evidence of this from some of the past posts that Phil Spencer's been making over the past like I don't know like 3 or 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially back when like they and Nintendo were really pushing for like the whole Fortnite crossplay thing, like
Yep.
back in the day. Did I say
Mm-hmm.
back in the day? That wasn't that long ago, but you see a lot of the evidence of them trying to push for like, hey, let's just play games together type of environment. And a lot of people said that that was monetarily motivated because they were losing the gaming console wars and stuff like that, which throwing down $75 billion in cash would have me question those statements a lot. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they seem to want to just be able to create a good environment for players. And that's honestly been one of the biggest criticisms of Sony by players is that Sony doesn't necessarily make their decisions based on what's best for the players.
Mm-hmm.
And as Microsoft gains more and more studios under its collective empire slash tent, um, they will have more sway in creating a genuine gaming world where people can play whatever they want with whoever they want on pretty much anything that they want, especially with the advent of all this cloud tech that's happening. I know that they're coming out with some sort of app. I don't know. I know. I've heard that they're coming out
Mm-hmm.
with some sort of app for televisions, and there's rumors that something like this is coming to the Nintendo Switch, but that's less believable. Um,
Yeah, the Switch stuff is more like, the the stuff on the Switch just feels like it's like an application that it's kind of like hodgepodged in. It doesn't feel as integrated as
well, yeah, of
like
course.
the stuff on the PS5 or on the new Xbox Series, whichever. Um,
A B C D.
yeah, like like, going to watch Netflix or something on like the PlayStation feels like something like, oh yeah, like this was thought about and kind of like we woven in,
Mm-hmm.
like not necessarily like it is technically just like an app, like you would fire up a game or something, but
Right.
it's something about like the cohesiveness of the presentation and like the system as a whole that makes it feel different from firing up Netflix on the Switch.
Yeah. But overall, the idea that they could have the ability to do all this cloud tech stuff to be able to put whatever games they want on whatever piece of technology they want is a
Hmm.
huge deal. And
Yep.
Microsoft has the ability to do that as a company because it's not, Microsoft isn't just Xbox. Like, it is
Hmm.
also all this computer tech stuff. So they know good and well how to integrate all of this stuff together and make it work. They've been in the business for years, and that is an advantage that Sony does not have. Sony can
Hmm.
make it look real good. I will give them that for sure, because that's a business that they've been in. They probably can make it sound pretty good too. But
Hmm.
as far as like software and tech integrations, Microsoft definitely, that's their business. That's their bread and butter.
Yep. What
And
I
so,
now that you
yeah.
said that, what I wouldn't, so I it would be it like even posing the question, I feel like Microsoft would have to do a cost benefit analysis to come up with a serious answer. But depending on how everything falls, it could be feasible that we might see a a handheld console with the Xbox library of stuff on it and auxiliary stuff. I'm thinking something comparable to the Steam Deck because Xbox already has the Xbox Game Pass where you can play stuff from Xbox's past. Um, on the Xbox Series, whatever. They've made some really big acquisitions for their catalog, um, and like having all these things and being console agnostic might be enough of a motivation for them to say, hey, you have your Xbox Game Pass. What if you could play your Xbox Game Pass games anywhere?
See,
And
but I
we
don't. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say we might it will be a long shot, but they're more poised to be in a position to make a handheld console or to come up with some because they're already in the tech space, like they already are in the space of making computers and tablets and so forth, that it wouldn't be difficult for them to say, hey, R&D, take 6 months. What would it take for us to make a portable handheld console that could play, any of the stuff on the Game Pass? What's that look like?
See, okay, so here's my. This is actually kind of like agreeing and pushing back at the same time on that.
Hmm.
Yes, I can see them asking those questions right now. But I also notice how much they've been doing things for Game Pass for PC as of late.
Mm.
So a lot of their advertisements
Oh, I
lately
didn't know
have
Game Pass
been.
was on PC.
Game Pass is on PC,
That
and you can
that
play
does make
pretty much.
sense because computers and Microsoft and video games. So, duh.
Yeah, but let me continue down this rabbit hole for a
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
Puts on Morpheus glasses. I don't have Kenny's Morpheus glasses. See, this is why we need Kenny on the show. So they've been talking about Game Pass for PC a lot lately, or at least the feed that I get of their ads has a lot of Game Pass for PC stuff on it. And they're expanding the amount of things that you can use on Game Pass for PC as far as like what games are accessible both on PC and console, and how much synergy there is between the two. As far as my own interests go, I can pretty much play everything that I want except for the original Fable series on PC, or for Game Pass for PC.
There's a BT Dubs specifically for Fable. I'm pretty sure there's a what is it, like Fable remaster that came out on Steam?
It is. I have it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you can play it all on PC then.
Yeah, I own it. That was my solution for that. But
nice.
So that, and the fact that they've been pushing these Microsoft Surfaces so much lately, if they were going to go in a portable console direction, I would see it more synergized with their Surface tablets, because don't be doing that.
I'm good. I do that all the time.
I could see it more being synergized with their Surface tablets, stuff they already have, because they have several varieties of Surface tablets, first of all, at several price points, with several different types of capabilities as far as technology goes. I know because we have one in our house, and they effectively function just like a PC does as far as like interfacing, or at least as far as I've had to interact with it. It's basically functions like a PC that has a touchscreen for me. And if they're gonna go into the mobile console Switch style thing, what I would more see them doing is figuring out a way to create some sort of dock like the Switch has, and some sort of easier control. I guess you could just get a straight up Xbox controller and just Bluetooth sync it, but just doing something like that where you can figure out a way to have a controller that you can use with the tablet in a way that's effective and easy, and then a way to send that to your television, like the feed to your television in one way, shape, or form.
I gotcha.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I mean by I agree and I disagree at the same time, because I think if they're going to do anything like that, they're going to use a lot of the stuff that they've already been pushing and use this multifaceted front to try to synergize all their products as well as they can.
Yeah,
but
that makes a lot more sense.
And with the advent of all this cloud stuff that they're supposed to be doing, it gives them the ability to do that as long as you have an effective internet connection.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense, especially because I think the missing link for me was I didn't know that Game Pass was all extended to also PC stuff. I was under the assumption, which makes less sense now that I think about it, that they were like, oh yeah, any game that people want to play on PC, just throw it on Steam and then let them deal with it or whatever. But they're already in the PC space, and they already have like the Microsoft what they call it, marketplace or whatever, where you can play, I don't know, multiple versions of Minecraft and whatever else they have on there.
Yeah, so they've got a ton of ability to do a lot of things, and they're also fueling the whole PC Master Race thing now. But especially with all this new stuff that they added in that they can just do for Game Pass for PC. But I don't know, Microsoft doesn't have a lot going on for it as far as like exclusivity. Like you still wouldn't be able to play Spider-Man or God of War on it, but they do apparently on Steam or something for PC. There is Final Fantasy now. We know Final Fantasy 16 is not a PlayStation exclusive as much as they try to advertise it as such. Hold on, pause for a moment. I'm taking a break here because I'm going to edit this down later. Let me tell you, all of you folks who are like, oh my gosh, I have my PlayStation 5. I can't wait to play Final Fantasy 16 because it's going to be such a cool exclusive. No, it's not going to be a cool exclusive. It's also on PC. PlayStation doesn't want you to know this, but it is also a PC game, because in several of their advertisements after PlayStation revealed it, they talked about the fact that this will also be on PC. I do not know if it's going to release at the same time, to be fair, but it will also be on PC, which takes away some of the advantages that Sony's PlayStation 5 has. Now that I've gotten that out of my system, that's the big thing. Microsoft has a lot of games that they can do a lot of stuff with. And granted, these are not games that they themselves designed and created as IPs, but they own them now, so it doesn't really matter. And that puts Sony at somewhat of a interesting juncture, because now they
kind of need to bargain a little bit. It's like,
yes, they have to learn how to play nice with other people.
we got exclusives that used to be on yours that could still be on yours,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe we trade a little bit. It's like, make it like, it's exclusive for the first year, and then it shows up on other stuff, which
Yeah.
is usually how they do it for some stuff. I had to wait quite a while to play Outer Worlds on Steam, because I think for the first year it was, I can't remember if it was an Xbox exclusive or a PC or a PlayStation exclusive. It was one of the two, so I just had to
Mm-hmm.
wait, unfortunately.
Yeah. There's two other things that I really wanted to talk about this. The first one of those two being that this is a boon to all of these old franchises that these companies own. The more of these companies that Microsoft keeps picking up,
Mm-hmm.
the more old school games that we haven't seen titles from in a long time that we
Yep,
might
that might
actually get
come
some
up.
action on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, if some of you guys were like, well, these old franchises need to die and it's okay. Apparently, none of you played Metroid Dread, because Metroid Dread picked up a storyline that hasn't been talked about in like 13 years, if
At
not
least by
longer.
Nintendo. At least by Nintendo, because like fan games for
Yeah.
what's it for Metroid 2, like,
Mm-hmm.
which is, this one's kind of like in like the same kind of style. Fan games for Metroid 2, like they've been remaking Metroid 2 forever, because Metroid 2 is the worst Metroid game.
Yeah. But yeah, so you apparently all didn't play Metroid Dread, because Metroid Dread is phenomenal in every way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have not had a dull
Did you
moment
beat it
playing the
yet?
game. No, I'm at the very last boss fight right now.
Okay.
I just got really busy with like job applications and stuff like that for some other stuff. But Metroid Dread is just so good. There's not a boring moment in the whole game, like at all. The pacing is fantastic. They're like, oh, but it's only 12 hours. You don't know, it's not 12 hours. It's gonna take you longer than that the first run. But that being said, all that's like just taking an old franchise and breathing new life into it unexpectedly like that. One,
Mm-hmm.
built an insane amount of organic hype without you really having to do a ton of extra work other than build the game and make it
Mm-hmm.
good. And two, it gives something fresh, even though it's an old franchise. And Microsoft could use that, honestly. And there's a lot of games that people are fans of from way back in the day that they would love to have the opportunity to play continuations of.
Yep, which we'll get to, because we have a list of all the new stuff which Microsoft now owns.
Yeah, let's actually hit that up right now
Um,
before I go to the next point that I want to talk about.
well, real quick, I wanted to get back to
Oh, I'm sorry.
employees on the acquisition. Then we'll
Okay.
get back to our opinion stuff.
Okay, well, that actually does transition to the other thing I wanted to talk about.
Oh, perfect. So, employees for Activision Blizzard have had to endure tons of stuff over the past several weeks/months. Um, they've had to face multiple disappointing statements from the company, where they've either dodged or attempted to discredit claims that are from multiple employees over several years. Excuse me, about workplace misconduct and gender-based discrimination and assault and other stuff. However, a number of employees have gone online to say that they're happy that anything has happened that will fundamentally change the way that the company is being led and managed. Like, after going through all of the stuff that the company's been dealing with, where the employees have been pushing to unionize, there have been continued walkouts, which have been going on for quite a while now. Um, Employees have just straight up left the company and just said that, I can't be here anymore, and having to endure all those things. And there's a very serious worry that, the business would just push it aside, make a whole bunch of statements, and it would just be business as usual. Nothing would happen. Fortunately, with the purchasing of the company, there's like, this is like a real push that something will actually change to fix some of these problems.
Mm-hmm.
Most notably, the 31-year long CEO Bobby Kotick is likely going to be pushed out, as Bloomberg reports. He's been pointed to as being aware of many of the company's problems that have been present in Activision Blizzard for a very, very long time, as well as being the center of some of those problems over the years. Of the over what was it, I think 1,800 of the 10,000 employees at Activision signed a petition calling for his removal, but the board of
Ow.
directors instead backed him, doubling down yet again on the company's toxic culture in the face of multiple reports and allegations over a length of time. Employee, but going along with continuing with it, that he's likely to be removed. or expected to exit, not to be removed. He's basically getting, I can't remember how much it was. It was either 30 million or 300 million, which is amongst CEOs basically screw off money. Like, this is enough of you being paid your severance that, like, you don't really have a legal foot to stand on for being dismissed unfairly or any of that razzmatazz. Basically, like, take your money and walk away. Like, you don't need to be here anymore. Employees from Activision Blizzard's various studios, from Treyarch in Santa Monica, California, to Blizzard in Irvine, said that they expected that Phil Spencer, who was promoted to CEO of Microsoft, to be a stronger leader than Kotick. Several pointed to the Microsoft's successful acquisition of independent studios like Double Fine Productions and Obsidian Entertainment, which have been pretty much, like we mentioned before, allowed to operate completely autonomously, and they're left to do what they were doing before, except now they report to Microsoft. Others said that they were cautiously optimistic, but also upset that Bobby Kotick would still be in charge at least for like the next 6 months whilst the deal goes through. Microsoft said that it expects the deal to close in the next fiscal year, which is sometime between July 2022 and June 2023. So he's going to be around for a while. Like, it's not a one and done where they show up with a briefcase of money, slap it on the table, and say, "Get out," and we're taking over right now. This is not quite how it goes. So there's still some transit time, but more or less, like, that's how employees are feeling. Optimistic. They still have to deal with Kotick for a while, and there is the possible, probable abuse and blowback of him being salty and grumpy that he's being pushed out and still being at the company for however many months. So hopefully there's no major developments with that, and he's able to shut up, take his money and get out of everybody's face and never to be seen or heard from ever again. That's probably not going to happen based off of how he handles basically anything from what we've seen over several years. But there's hope.
All right, so here's the positive analytical part of that, though. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, Homeboy's going to be there for longer than anybody wants him to be there, but taking your time with a transition like that gives you the opportunity to capitalize on it, seeing what other weeds exist in the ecosystem that if you had immediately ousted him, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to see some of those weeds rear their heads.
Mm-hmm. Possibly.
Yeah. So I know that it sucks that dude's going to be there for 6 more months and the employees have to deal with that crap, and especially deal with like angsty man.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of having somebody new there and all the people who we don't even know about were causing problems, just like sticking their heads down and like quietly
trying to hide,
having Bob still there will maybe make those people feel, I don't know, less able to hide, because they'll get a little bit too comfortable. And I don't want that to mean that they do something that they don't have any business doing. But I do want it to be an environment where as much of that crap can get weeded out as possible, because it needs to get shut down and it needs to end like now. Like, gaming nothing should be like this, but it really pisses me off that all of this exists in gaming, especially when we write these stories about these heroes and characters who are supposed to be admirable people and like, well, most of them. We write all these stories that are supposed to be so positive and admirable and like provide examples of like heroics.
Good character.
Good character, unless it's specifically made to be a villain or let you choose between being good and bad. I don't understand why this is such a hard thing to have in a gaming studio when you write all these stories. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
and it's ironic because I don't think I've ever heard about any of this stuff coming out of Naughty Dog, and Naughty Dog makes Grand Theft Auto.
Well, I mean, I'm sure like we're only getting to a lot of the like quote unquote like dirty laundry and like bad cultural behavior recently, and it's kind of coming. It's like seeping out of everywhere. So it's like it's not so much a question of if a place has these problems. It's more of like, how big of an issue is it at any given place, and what are they doing about it? The problem is that at Activision, their thing is let's fan the flames as much as possible. Anybody who's called out to be an abuser, promote them so that they're unfireable, and shove all the paperwork like as far down into the filing cabinet as you can. Whereas like other places are like, oh yeah, there's some question as there should and can be of any place of like, hey, are you hiring, like, what's your hiring policies like? Are you inadvertently hiring more of any particular kind of person than another because
True.
of possible blind spots? And those questions should be asked of everybody, but there are very clear and very obvious worse offenders who like need the attention first. And it's like,
Yes.
everybody might be hurting, but it's like, when you go to the hospital, you don't focus on all the kids who scrape their knees in favor of all the kids who had like an arm chopped off or something like that. You gotta start with the highest priority stuff first. Like, look, the box of Band-Aid is over there. We're gonna get to you, and you're still important. However, there's some arms that need to be resevered back on. So let's focus on that right now.
Yeah, you
And
gotta
Activision
triage it.
Blizzard is definitely an arm severing kind of case.
Yep. So
Um,
hopefully it gets all the infection out, and we can start enjoying Activision Blizzard games again.
it would be really great if I could play Overwatch again, because I stopped playing Overwatch for entirely political reasons.
Oh my
And
god!
and I was getting good too, so it's a shame.
I just
Um,
I just had a thought. What if they put the World of Warcraft subscription into your Xbox monthly subscription? So if you're a Game Pass Ultimate, you just get to play it.
that'd be pretty sweet.
That's not
They
something I need in my
they
life.
they probably won't, but that'd be pretty sweet.
Oh my gosh! I would be on that game way too much. I
Isn't Classic WoW free?
don't know. I just stay
I'm
away
I'm
from it
pretty
because I
sure
don't
it
have time
is.
to. Here's the thing.
Um,
I actually have the ability to stop and play WoW and like start playing WoW and stop whenever I want. But I'm not
that's
gonna
not
be
true.
any good at the game, and I'm not gonna get to the stuff that I want to get to in any decent amount of
Mm-hmm.
time if I play like that.
Yeah,
And I
nah, that's
can
whack.
play responsibly, but I
But I
also
don't
want to play
want
a lot of the end game content and do raids and crap.
to.
So I just don't play the game
Yep,
because I
yep,
can't
yep.
get what I want without putting a ton of time in.
Mm-hmm. I feel you. I feel you.
So
But
I'll just stick
speaking
to
of getting
Smash
what
Bros.
we want, here's the list of IPs that Activision Blizzard owns that Xbox will have access to. There's a whole list, and maybe we'll post it on the Facebook or something. But we'll go over some of the ones that are most notable.
I'll
So
make like
of
a cool.
course,
I'll do like TikTok points for this or something like that. Be like, boom, boom, boom,
yeah,
boom.
there you go.
Okay, so go.
So like of course the big one, Call of Duty. That's the one that everybody's aware of. Also, Candy Crush. These are in alphabetical order. These are just reading down the list. Candy Crush, Crash Bandicoot, Diablo, DJ Hero. Forgot about that one. Geometry Wars, which I can't remember the last time I even heard somebody talk about Geometry Wars. Guitar Hero, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch. Of course, we just mentioned that one. Phasmagoria. Um, oh yeah, Prototype. I forgot about that. Skylanders,
Ooh,
right? Spyro the Dragon, StarCraft, Tenchu, Time Shift, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, True Crime. One that I couldn't. I was like, I don't remember the last time I've even heard of people talking about True Crime since the GameCube. And then World of Warcraft. And there's a bunch of other ones in between that, but those were some of the notable ones that kind of caught our eye while we were going through the list.
Destiny.
Is that on? Is that?
I think yeah, Destiny's Activision.
Is it Activision?
Yeah, pretty sure. I don't know. I'm gonna Google it real quick. I don't think I'm right about that, but yeah, you do it on yours. You're already doing the click clack. Also, while you're looking that up, can we talk about the fact that like Microsoft owns the humongous games now? So like they already had Halo. Fable was kind of a big deal, but not as big as some other things. And then now they have Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Diablo, World of Warcraft,
Oh yeah, because they did buy Bethesda. I forgot about that.
yeah, and in theory they have Destiny. Like,
Okay, so I looked it up. So it looks, if I unless my brief skimming of this article is incorrect, it looks like Bungie split with Activision. And
mm,
they were able to take the rights to Destiny with them when they did
okay,
this.
my apologies. I was wrong about
So
that.
they used to be a part of Activision. So you were correct, but they have, as of whenever this article is, there's no time on it. They split from Activision, so they're no longer a part of them, and they took Destiny with
That's still a lot of humongous, time-consuming,
them.
humongous game communities that they own now. Not
Yep.
that they don't own the communities, but they own the games that the communities play.
Yep.
Like just between Diablo, World of Warcraft, Skyrim, or not Skyrim, everything is Skyrim now. Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Between those, like
that's a lot.
That's a huge chunk of gaming.
Or at least it's a huge time of chunk of gaming.
Yeah. Also, I'm hoping that this actually means that like they're gonna light a fire under Blizzard's butt to do something besides rehashing the same games. Same like they're apparently doing with Bethesda.
Probably.
Because as much fun as World of Warcraft can be, it'd be really nice to be able to push that franchise forward in something besides an online subscription game that most people can't really access unless you want to spend all of your time doing that. It would be cool to have more.
See, and that's how you end up with mobile game variants of stuff.
I have a mobile game rant that I want to do, but I should not do it on the show. Anyways. But yeah, like between that and then Fallout, like maybe they'll get pushed into another game out. Like maybe we'll actually get the next Elder Scrolls game before I'm 80. Like,
I mean, it's coming. It looks like they're at least actively working on it.
Yeah, because they weren't before.
No, they totally weren't.
No, they really weren't. Like they were working on Fallout 76, and then they were working on Starfield and Deer. Even now, apparently they're actually working on Starfield. And then they're like, we'll get to Elder Scrolls when we'll get to Elder Scrolls. And then Phil Spencer came in and says, no, we're going to do this now because y'all are taking too long.
It's like, I want more Elder Scrolls. I'm tired of playing Skyrim mods.
Todd Howard, go to your room. But yeah, that's a lot of games.
Yeah, it's an exciting move. Like I'm curious and excited to see, what comes of it, because there's a whole bunch of opportunity there, and I don't think Xbox isn't the type to squander it. So yeah, I think we're in for. I think it's a net positive move, probably for everybody except Bobby Kotick.
I'm also really excited about the possible return of Guitar Hero.
Yeah, that would be fresh. I used to love playing Guitar Hero.
Same.
The last one I played was I only bothered to buy the numbered ones because I didn't care for the band specific ones, because those were kind of like, here's something to hold you over. It was like the cheese between meals.
Yeah, man, if I could have like Guitar Hero and Beat Saber in my house at the same time, like, oh, that would be.
Guitar, you see, now the perfect fusion is now a trio, where before it was being able to play Guitar Hero and DDR at the same time. Now, if you can play Beat Saber, Guitar Hero, and DDR at the same time, you're in business.
Yeah, and then you got to tag team with Disney and figure out a way for it to like link to my Savi's Workshop lightsaber that I have, and I'd just be golden.
There you go.
So. That would be so dope. But yeah. All right. Well, that's all I had on the Activision-Blizzard merger, which that's a lot of time talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, it's not to say it's less about the action, but there's so much possibility that comes from it that like there's tons of stuff to talk about. So yeah.
And who'd have thought, like, okay, so I know that the story's not done yet, but who'd have thought we might actually have like a really positive, like good, happy ending to all the crap that's been going on with it? Because we've been talking about this for a while, and we've been covering this nonsense with Activision Blizzard for a hot minute, and Microsoft coming in to take over and hopefully fix things is something that I don't think anybody had on their bingo card.
Yeah, I did not have that on my bingo card at all.
Yeah, like that was not on the radar for anybody, but it's such a cool solution and such a cool, hopefully, end to that story that, one, all these workers who work there might actually get a good company to work for now, doing something that they enjoy doing and getting to create something that they love. Hopefully. Now, I also know that the gaming industry is littered with all sorts of horror stories of working for gaming companies. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
It sounds like Activision Blizzard is among the worst. So having a company that is hopefully not even close to as bad is net positive.
Yeah, and collectively, I possibly am ignorant, but I have heard less horror stories about Microsoft.
Yeah,
So
similarly, I bucket it because we're hearing new stuff every week more or less.
yeah,
But we haven't heard anything yet. And inevitably when it does come out, hopefully it's like, yeah, it's workplace training level stuff, or stuff that's encapsulated amongst whatever, like some particular managerial group or something, and it's not that, like, top down for the past 30 some odd years it's been nothing
yeah,
but like hot garbage and misconduct. So that's Activision Blizzard's kind of tempered what the expectations are, and I hope that any other case that we hear is nowhere near as bad, but they still deserve attention too, and
sure.
we'll deal with them when they come on down the pipe.
Right. All right. Well, that's all that we've got tonight, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for watching the show. We'll get this pushed out in various formats over the next few days. I think I have time to do that. So next, I don't know if we've got anything else going on for this week. Next week, we should have State of the Nerd Union on Monday nights. We're gonna have Commander
Mm-hmm.
Ship Show going on, where they're gonna talk about whatever movie, TV shoot stuff they're talking about. Probably something to do with the Book of Boba Fett, especially after last week's episode. If we are correct in what we think is going to happen, they'll be talking about that. So yeah. As far as I don't know, let's do like a weekly throwback. Like, what are you doing throwback wise?
I was wholly unprepared for a throwback.
You should always be prepared.
I'm well in the vein of Rhythm James. I'm gonna say DDR Max 2. Personally,
Ooh, good
my
stuff.
favorite Dance Dance Revolution game. I had the home edition of it with the little dance mat that you would unfold and it would fold up or whatever. That slapped. DDR Max 2 is like for me, has my highest concentration of like favorite Dance Dance Revolution songs. So
Good
that's
stuff.
my throwback.
All right. As far as mine go, what have I been playing? Playing a lot of Mega Man X stuff lately, so that's probably mine. Like, I played Mega Man X Dive on my PC because the Mega Man X Dive just came out on PC, so I've been doing some of that. But I've also been trying to finish the old school Mega Man X series. I think I'm on X5 right now on the Switch. I'm at the
Nice.
last level. I'm stuck where they shoot all these lasers at, and I think I'm using the wrong type of armor or something like that. But so that's fun. I like old school hard games, as you could tell by my love of Metroid Dread. I really enjoy just old school skill based stuff. That's not can you dodge in the correct invincibility frame? I enjoy agility ones. So yeah, it's a great game though. It's a lot of fun. Not as good as X4 playing wise, probably, but still pretty fun.
Yeah. I as a big Mega Man X fan, I played all of them. I played a lot of the later X1s when I was like a kid. So I was just I'm just happy that there's more Mega Man content. And they're like, oh, the story goes off the rails and all this stuff. I'm like, ain't nobody playing Mega Man for the story.
No, we're playing a charge shot and Zero Saber everything. Frick.
Right, and it's my favorite Mega Man games are always going to be 1, 2, 3. Mega Man X games 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, those are good.
The music is on point. The gameplay is solid. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
4 does slap. Don't get me wrong. 5, 6, 7 is kind of they all kind of the originality kind of faded away, and they all kind of felt like the same game. But Command Mission, I don't know if that one is included in the Mega Man X collection. Command Mission slaps.
Yeah, Command Mission is very good.
For those unaware, Command Mission was a turn-based RPG style Mega Man game. The story was fun. It was a little obvious, but it was fun, and the gameplay is neat. There's a lot of cool mechanics there. I won't ruin it for you, but good game.
Yeah. If you do want to play a Mega Man that has pretty consistently a good story, go ahead and play the Mega Man Zero series, but it doesn't hit you as hard if you haven't played the Mega Man X series, but it gives you an opportunity to just derp around to Zero for a hot minute, and it is so much fun.
The Mega Man Zero series is phenomenal. That one, of all of them, that one and Battle Network are probably my 2 favorites.
Yeah, but we're going off on tangents, so we're going to go ahead and end the night tonight. I'm H Trader Jerry, and I've been hanging out with Immenent Doom X on the show tonight. We'll probably have some gaming streams happening the next couple weeks or so. I know that I'm planning to stream some Pokemon Legends Arceus. Commandership should be back in my slot next week, and I'll go back to being the guy behind the chair and hopefully not turn into a supervillain. And yeah, so that's been our show for y'all tonight. We hope y'all have a good night, and we hope that Microsoft is good for Activision Blizzard. Have a good night.
Take care.